Hey guys, welcome to our second installment on how to hack Reddit to find your product market fit. So let's jump right in. I'm going to focus today on how to practically build up your Reddit presence so you can figure out exactly if there's demand for your product. In our last video, we spoke about how we launched Chartloop's idea on Reddit and got over 500 upvotes, medals, and a ton of product market fit. So today we're going to be talking about finding the right communities to be active in, then what works, what type of conversations, what interests people on every subreddit, how do you build your karma, right, if you're starting from zero, and then how do you repeat this and scale this across multiple channels. So let's dive in. So I'm going to give you the example of Chartloop. So with Chartloop, to remind you, is a tool for creating the org chart of any company. And the use cases, there's two main ones. One is for enterprise salespeople when they're looking to sell into a large organization. And the other one is for recruiters, specifically sourcers. Those are the two main ones. We have some other minor ones like consulting, and maybe investing and things like that. So what you can see here are lists of communities which I found which are relevant. So in our case, we were looking for people interested in sales. We were looking for consultants because consultants are extremely geeky and excited about their data. And then recruiters, right? Where do they hang out? So now this is OSINT was a community that I discovered that a lot of these recruiters and sourcers are into open source intelligence gathering, like all kinds of scoops on people's social and things like that to discover identities. So those are types of places that they hung out in. Now, other groups that were super relevant are people into technology, into startups, into building their own business. They're always on the lookout for new tools, and even if it's not segmented exactly by this use case, there's within that group, for example, on a marketing or an entrepreneurship subreddit, there's a lot of people that do sales or a lot of people that do recruiting, so it's super relevant. And then some other more niche groups like investors, competitive landscape or competitive mapping, visualization geeks, right? So Chartloop was a tool that auto-built these org charts with lots of data, so people who love visualization went totally crazy about it. So that's how we started out, by mapping these examples, and I would suggest for you to start that, putting down your use cases, and then say, oh, here's a type of community that's relevant for me, or here's another one. And then once you dive into one of them, you're going to start finding a lot of other communities that are super relevant. So that's the first thing. Now let's get a little bit more practical. How do I find what works within each specific subreddit? So let's take a look at consulting, right? The consulting sub, this is where we found our success, got over 500 upvotes. You can see here, first of all, let's take a look at the size, right? There's 172,000 members. You can also see who's online, when people are active. For example, some subs are more active at night, some are more active on the weekend, some are active specifically during business hours when people are at work and are totally bored. So it kind of varies. But in order to find what works, so first of all, you have to get to know each community. You can't just come and blast, right? And every community has its own rules. So you have your rules. So there's typically very strict anti-spamming and promotional guidelines. But then every group varies. Some groups are very stringent, some are less. Now, in the case of consulting, let's take a look here. There's a lot of jokes here about consulting. You can see some memes and videos and jokes about Excel, PowerPoint, things that consultants like to geek out on. And then there's also some other discussions which are more in the detail. But now, what I would recommend for you to do is, when you come into a sub, is you go to the filters here on the top and you press I want to see the top posts. So for example, you say in the last month, right? So first of all, you're going to see, okay, all these jokes and LOLs, right? Those are awesome. Those are fun. But let's look for the posts with more substance. And you can see here a great example. McKinsey changed my mind on consultants. Right? Consultants love to geek out about top 4 consulting firms. So McKinsey, BCG, all of those, they're going to be starring here. Right, things about okay, this is a joke about Excel. You'll see here subjects about right. I just finished my master's. What's my plan? So a lot of discussion here about career moves, specifically within consulting. So anything related to careers or consulting or tools they're very passionate about. So in consultants' case, it's all like, Microsoft Suite, Excel, PowerPoint, and the like. They will be really geeked out about. So this is a tip for you to apply, and I would recommend you try this at home. Now, if you try this on a different subreddit, for example, if I took sales, right? So it's similar size, 160,000 people, but here it would work differently, right? So if you look at the top here, top month, you'll see a lot of discussion here about sales tactics. Right? Or LinkedIn doesn't work anymore, or being poor, or job or salary negotiations. So for each sub, you need to be super careful. Specifically, sales subreddit, I know it well. They're extremely on spamming. Be super careful that you're not promoting anything here, because you'll be banned. So that's in terms of finding your sub. Now, moving on. How do I build up my karma? Right? So it could be that you have 0 karma or 5 karma, and a lot of times if you don't have karma in some of these subs, your posts don't really go up. So here's my recommendation. Here's a hack. You can start out by finding some subreddits that it's very easy to post on. So for example, you can see here, there's a subreddit called Experimental, where, this one is a visualization, where they like seeing all kinds of visual stuff. So if you post here a cool visualization, you're going to get a ton of upvotes. Nobody really cares about who you are or what you are, because that's what the sub is about. Or for another example, would be subreddits about news. So if there's many people subscribe to that sub and you post something, so your karma is going to go flying. So you can come into some of these subs and post something relevant to them, boost your karma, and then go start your posting on other the more meaningful subs where you want to gain some traction. So that's in terms of how to build up your presence. And then finally, I would recommend this: repeat, right? You want to put this is a playbook, right? Put this into play. So for example, if you look at my profile, you can see here the same concept that I mentioned, like putting up non-promotional posts, asking some questions, asking feedback, creating a discussion about what you're building, what you're trying to achieve, and then kind of building a variation of this for each sub. So for example, this is one that I did on Entrepreneur Ride Along, and it's kind of tweaked to over there's lots of entrepreneurs and people building businesses, right? How it can be useful for sales, or for example, one on Excel, how people can build an org chart on Excel or Chartloop. Try this at home. I'm going to share a few tips and tricks here with you on how to use Reddit. Feel free to ask any questions about how to hack your product market fit on Reddit, or how to use Chartloop. Have a good one.